So this is my first video from returning from London 3 weeks ago from a travel event. I've been really poorly, which is why I haven't done this video sooner, but I wanted to update you on what I experienced and what I felt was so obvious to me and what I felt was really apparent. And that simply is the fact that the people that I was around at this event, not only were they of the same mindset, but they all had a story to tell, all different reasons why they wanted to have this business. Now, I wanted this as originally as a plan B because I was fed up of being in debt. I wanted to clear my debt off as quickly as possible, and I wanted to be able to afford my bills, afford Christmas, whatever, and not have to worry. But what has become more apparent to me over the time that I've been in this business and this industry is that there are two things. And the first thing is people who succeed and don't want to be stuck are honest with themselves, firstly, and secondly, that they take action. So you need to be honest with yourself. With the way the world is at the moment, with AI technology coming in and taking a lot of the jobs, guys, because it's happening in my current place where I work. Over 50 staff members are now using a new AI system, and that's going to help reduce time, efficiency, everything else. But that also means then there's less reason to employ staff, right? So I want you to think about where you are. Now, don't get me wrong, if you work in a hospital and you're a nurse, doctor, carer, whatever, yeah, you're going to be needed physically. But for the rest of us that are no longer in those environments or don't work in those environments, are you in a situation where you could technically be replaced in time? Because there are even AI systems out there now that will actually answer the phone. They will actually help, do like this web chat that you have, where you can type to an AI bot and it will give you answers and answer certain questions and things like that. So there's a lot of things happening with technology. It's a lot of it's quite positive. Don't get me wrong. I use AI for different things. But ultimately, if your job was to go tomorrow, could you quite confidently say that you could cope, you have enough money with you in the bank, you have enough savings, you're able to continue and sustain the lifestyle that you currently have? Or would you be up the creek without a paddle, as they say? Yeah, because that's the situation I was in when the pandemic happened. I had no savings, I hadn't long got divorced, I was living on my own, and so on. So I just want you to realize that you've got to be honest with your situation, and then you've got to take action. Because if you're not in a situation where you could cope financially, if your job was to go tomorrow, then you need to start thinking about what is your plan B and how are you going to get there. Now, I do have an opportunity, yes, that's within the travel industry. I can certainly go through a call with you and go through some information and go from there. But if the travel industry isn't for you, you really need to think what is, because there's not much out there, guys. And that's the other thing, too. There are jobs, but a lot of it is to do with systems, computers, databases, that kind of thing. And it's up to you. All I'm going to say is it's entirely up to you. But what I do know is this: you have to be realistic, you have to be an action taker, and most importantly, if you don't have that plan B, then you are going to sink and not swim. That's as simple as that. Now, I don't say that to laugh because it's not a funny matter, because when I was in that position, trust me, it was not funny. It really wasn't. But it brought home to me the importance of having something, a nest egg, a plan B, something that I'm now looking at growing and being full time in than in my current job. Because, like I say, there's already change in my working environment. They're not going to be replacing staff anymore. I've already seen it happen, and we're under more pressure, more stress, and no more money. So, what are you going to do about it? Most importantly, if you're happy, great. If you've got enough money in the bank and you don't have to worry anymore, happy days. But for me, where I've got another 22 years left because before I could actually retire and claim my pension, I don't want to be in that situation, guys. I don't want to be scrimping and scraving. I've had enough with all that. So if you like me, and like I'm going for the menopause, I've had health issues recently. I've not been very well, and things have happened. Bereavement has happened in the family and so forth. But I'm still here, and I'm still focused. I'm still driven. I've just been kind to myself. That's the only thing I've done recently. But I want you to think about your situation right now. Could you survive? Could you really, and I'll being honest, could you really survive if you didn't have that job that you've currently got coming in? Could you survive if, that was taken away from you? Because I couldn't. I'm being honest with you, I couldn't have. That's why I got into so much debt. But now, being in this industry and being in something that I thoroughly enjoy is half the battle. But you know what? There is actually a lady in this actual business who actually doesn't love travel at all. She couldn't care for it. Her agenda was something completely different from a health related situation, why she needed the money for a treatment. And that is what's basically saving her and getting her through what she's going through right now. Now, her job was in corporate, and she'd been working in that company for over 10 years, working really well, working extremely hard, putting all that time and effort in. And she thought that she would have a job there until she retired, unless she chose to leave. But luckily, she had enough in her knowing, her reasons why she needed to have certain treatments, why she needed to have that plan B. That plan B is in the travel industry. And like I say, she has no care for travel. She really doesn't care. She's very open and honest about it. For her, it was all about the money, and that's fine. You don't have to travel. You don't have to want to know things about travel. You don't have to have traveled anywhere, because all this is all done online anyway, regardless. I just happen to love travel. I happen to love getting out there and doing different things and seeing different things and meeting people and so forth. That's why I love travel. I've always been in that mindset about it, and having a business in it for me is a win-win. And of course, the money. But yeah, there are so many different people that are in this industry for different reasons. But I just ultimately want you to think about what could you do? Could you survive if you didn't have your current job coming in? Because there are so many people out there that just have the one stream of income. That is why you're stuck, because you'll only earn just enough to pay your bills if you're lucky. You're never going to really, unless you're in a high flying job that's going to give you massive bonuses, which pretty much don't really exist these days. It's very rare to have a company that will do that. And not everyone is of a level in a business, like they're high up where they've worked their way up, that have got a decent income coming in. So how are you going to cope, guys? How are you going to cope with things? Because I find it frightening. I really do, which is why I started a plan B. So I'm going to stop waffling, but I want you to understand that you really got to be honest with your situation. Now, if you don't want to be in the travel industry with me, fine, no problem. But please find something that you can do, something that is going to give you that extra bit of security, something that's going to give you that extra bit of money, and whatever it is. Because I know money isn't everything, but you need to keep a roof over your head. You need to be able to put food on the table and pay those bills. And that's without anything else that you may have, whether it's car payments, childcare payments, whatever. But what I want you to understand is this: that I want the best for people, ultimately. I don't want people to struggle like I did. And it's quite frightening how bad things could have got for me if I didn't take action when I did. But I want you to know this, that you are capable. You just simply have to take action. Take care. Stay blessed.